pleasantly surprised. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
yeah, it went well. I thought it went well.
Cool.
Yeah, it went well. I thought it went well.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just getting the YouTube chat here. Let's see, there it is. Seems to be working better this week than it was last week, where it was kind of a big fiasco. So I'm saying hello, and I'm going to remind people to ask questions, and the earlier the better, because sometimes we don't always have time for everyone's questions. So please be sure to ask those questions early if they're really important or urgent. All right. So with that, I haven't been able to assemble a slide deck for a while now. Some people might be wondering what the heck is going on. I have a back injury and I'm actually scheduled for a back surgery a week from Thursday. So I'm actually looking forward to it. If I could have it sooner, I would, because I, want to finally get some relief and get back on track with everything in my life. So it's been a pretty big disruption, and I'm really sorry to the whole community about that. I know a lot of people rely on me for a lot of things, but path to recovery. I've taken a bit of time this year to not get worse and to focus on health, and so that's going well. And hopefully after a week from Thursday, I'll be back on track for things. So that's the update on that.
Blessing to us. Focus on you.
Thank you. And I want to remind people, even though I don't have slides today, we are going to talk about a topic. But I want to remind people that if they need press releases, to reach out to Magic PR, have a discussion, find out what they can do for you, what you need. Even if you're not prepared to purchase today, you should do your fact finding. It's okay to reach out to them and ask questions on cost and how often do you need them? How would you do them? What do you need to do? Best practices. There's a lot of things you can learn just by doing your research before you start spending money. And so Madge is pretty good about that. He's a busy guy, but see if you can't get on his calendar and talk press releases and what they can do for you. Madge, anything new on your horizon?
We're working on a few things which I can't really disclose right now, guys. But in the background, yes, I'm working on a few things. From a link building point of view, after the PR, just making a few changes and maybe a few distribution changes as well going forward. But apart from that, nothing else exciting at the moment.
All right. Well, let me know when you're ready to announce those new additions.
Will do. Thank you.
All right.
Ted, I'm going to say that your tip's a good one. I think that people forget that when you're looking at a product or a service, an SEO product or service, a lot of times if you reach out to the person selling, like Madge selling, press releases, they're an expert in the space and they can give you a lot more value than just the press release. They can give you information about how to utilize them, how to get the best benefit out of them, what else you need to, do, or what else you might consider. Or at some points that a press release might not be the solution to your particular problem. So, you end up saving some money there. So it's always good to reach out and talk to an expert in the field.
Yeah. The question that nobody seems to ask is, when do I need the small package versus when do I need the biggest package? I just see lots of people always going for the big one. And while the big one is great and all, you should start with the small one and see if it can move the needle, see if it can do the trick, because then you're learning information, you're saving money, and you have somewhere to go if you need to level up. You can save money for your customers. If you're passing on the costs, you can do them more frequently if you're doing it for yourself. So don't always rush into the largest package there is without knowing why you're doing it. And so that's another reason. So if you want to know which package you should be looking at for your situation, then talk to Match. We'll let you know. All right. Let's talk. Lee, you had an announcement too, didn't you?
Yeah, our next tested SEO training is going to be starting in about a month, in mid-September. So actually going to go through and do some minor revisions to certain things, because right now there are some different things that are working more or less effectively in Google. So we're going to make those tweaks, part of the core program. So we're excited about that. So if people are interested in being a part of that training, you can go take a look at the information at testedseotraining.com, or just reach out to me on Skype and we'll get on a call and talk about it and see if it's right for you. So
let me ask you a couple questions here.
Fire away.
Because I was just saying that, people looking for services and stuff often don't ask a lot of questions. How many people have taken your training more than once?
Most of them. In the last training that I had, it was about 80% of the people had taken it more than once. And I said, we just completed the 11th one. So I have a handful of people that have done all 11. So there's.
And why do they do that? Is it absurdly complicated and difficult or something?
Sometimes. But no, I mean, there's two pieces to it. One is I throw a lot at you. So there's going to be additional things that you'll pick up the second time through, the third time through, that you didn't pick up quite the first time through. But also there is one of the ways that we've developed this particular program is it's not just me delivering it. It's interactive with your peers. So we'll break out into groups and you'll hear, if Ted's in there, he'll tell you how he does a particular thing. Terry Power is here, he will tell you how he does a particular thing. It just depends on who you have. So there's a lot of exchange of ideas because there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so it is like going to a conference. There's value in hearing the speakers. There's more value in talking to people at the bar. That's where the nuggets get dropped. So you can continue to pick up nuggets, even if the core foundational training doesn't change over time. So, we make minor tweaks. Like, if I go back 3 years ago, we were talking about Jasper. We no longer talk about Jasper. That's not the way we generate content. There are more efficient ways. And so things like that get tweaked over time, tools that we use to execute certain things. But,
Awesome. And what can people expect on these repeat training sessions? Are you charging them full price to do it a second time, a third time, 11?
No, you get a significant discount on the repeats of it. I think right now it's like $8,500 to do the training right now, but you can repeat it anytime for $500. That's been from day one. So I love having our community back. Going through for a refresher or just to pick up additional, tips and tricks from your fellow SEOs. So.
And where can people learn more and maybe see some video testimonials from some of your customers?
Oh, you can go testedseotraining.com. You can look at the case studies and things like that people have put in. There's a variety of different, some people will do videos, some people just talk about what they got out of it, some people will show results. There's I don't just people have whatever way they want to share that information, they can share that information. So I don't have any sort of templates or restrictions or anything else on what people want to share. Whatever they write, even when it's disparaging, I still post it.
Who shouldn't take your training?
New people. If you are a course junkie, I will sniff you out and not let you in. You have to be execution oriented. So I like people that are making money with their SEO because this makes them more money faster. They get their money back very, very quickly when that happens. New people, not so much, because if you're at a stage where you're trying to figure out what's a keyword or how does, what's a PBN or something along those lines, this is not, for you. This is deeper water than that. So,
All right. So if you're in that beginner circuit, go see some beginner courses, then talk to Lee.
yeah, start making some money first. I mean, really, that's if you're making your living off of SEO, and it doesn't have to be client, it can be you can do lead gen, you can do affiliate, you can do any of those things. If you're making money off of it, we can help you level up your game. If you're not making money off of it, this is not the place for you in all probability.
All right. Thank you, Lee.
No problem.
All right. So on to our topic. You may remember a couple of years ago, Google retired the URL parameter tool. And ever since then, I've been sounding the alarm saying they don't have this handled. They don't have this handled. And now they're actually starting to talk about how they don't have it handled. And they're going to start looking into ways at handling it better, you know. And at the time, there was just so much bravado. There's like Google is so advanced. This is a problem that barely affects anyone. We have better ways of solving this. And all of that. But they really just closed the tool down, and they didn't do anything. And so that's caused a big problem. And so people are wondering the URL parameter tool, what is it? And so what it is it was a place in Google Webmaster Tools, the old version of Google Search Console, where you could go in and say, hey, Google, if you see any URLs matching this variable in the URL, ignore that variable, just delete it from the URL. And so that was giving largely online retailers a way of saying, don't crawl the faceted navigation, don't interact with the shopping cart, don't add things to our wish list. So you could go in and put those e-commerce platform variables into this tool, and then Google would efficiently and completely crawl your website. And the problem with Googlebot getting into those types of things is Googlebot will get into an infinite crawl of the website. It'll go into a store. It'll find the first category, socks. It'll find the faceted navigation and say, oh, I'll sort it by price ascending. And then it'll start crawling socks. And then it'll say, oh, I found a new link at the top. Let's sort it by price descending. Let's recrawl the socks. Wow, you have a lot of duplicate socks. Oh, here's one I can sort by the product name alphabetically. Let's crawl all the socks. Okay, let's hit it alphabetically descending. All right, wow, lots of duplicate socks. And then all of a sudden, Google's saying, "Oh wow, look at the time here. We're all out of budget. We didn't quite finish your socks category, but we'll come back next month and see if we can get some more. So thanks again. See you later." And so as the website owner with that infinite crawl, you're getting like 5% of your site crawled, and the rest of your site got no love. And so it's devastating when this happens to a business. And what it looks like in Search Console is your number of index pages is irrational. You go in and look, and it says something like you have 250,000 pages. And you're like, how is that possible? We have 40 categories and 1,000 SKUs. How does that equal 250,000 pages? It's because the pages you have an infinite number of URLs because of all those features in the store creating URL parameters, different unique URLs for the same content. And so Google is interacting with those and they're indexing them. And this problem is actually findable in search. And it's remarkable to me that Google went down this path even to begin with, because it is an order of magnitude waste of resources on Google's end to do these infinite crawls. Like they really, pooped the bed on this one, because Googlebot is expending all of its time on duplicate content because they retired the URL parameter tool. So for example, let me go over here. Let's search for mug, and we'll say in URL, add to cart. Okay. And we start scrolling down and we see some things here. So this is clearly, a cart related page, but I'm looking for something more e-commerce like. So this one looks like a store. There's product schema here. And let's see, when I click on it, oh, that one's interesting. That's some weird affiliate play. All right, that's interesting. That's a different problem. That's a story for another day. All right, let's look at this one. Oh, it tried to add it to cart, but it couldn't. We're sorry, but this gift set is sold out. So this one would have added to cart, except for the fact that they're sold out of the product. So let's try this one. Here we go. That URL, when you visit it in search, it adds this custom printing magic mug to your cart. Now we have 1 items in cart. All right.
Basically, now that you've done this, if you were visiting the site looking for this and this wasn't the one, you'd be removing it from the cart, potentially leaving, and creating an abandoned cart appearance on your website.
Yeah, this is distorting cart abandonment statistics for online retailers everywhere. So if you notice that about 2 years ago your cart abandonment went through the roof, it's because Google is indexing pages that add things to carts. If we scroll down here, here's another one. You see how it has the add to cart parameter? Oh, nope, that's another affiliate trick. I'm going to have to investigate those. That's really interesting. Because you can see that that's not an Amazon page, but it's falling straight through to Amazon. Here we go. Here's an add to cart with the CID and a quantity. Boom, it added it to cart. The white Mensa logo mug.
Now I want to, hey Ted, I want to point out that Now, Google in that article, I think Barry mentions, oh, you can just block those things with robots.txt. But in a past Fight Club, I forget the episode, I was able to show that Google will still index things that are blocked with robots.txt if there are links to it. So if Google
Yeah.
determines it found links to it, it'll index it anyways, and robots.txt is useless.
Yep. And once it's already in there, Google has a very long memory. They're going to keep retrying the URLs they know.
Yeah,
And
we talked about this, I think, about a month ago. We were seeing in Search Console and a lot of different sites an explosion in URLs. This was one of the types of things that caused it. And what it was doing is it was showing these URLs and saying, hey, we found this parameterized URL, but we can't index it because it's, canonicalized to another, URL. We're like, yeah, we kind of know that that's the way that, the site was set up. It was set up properly. But the same thing was true with no index pages. And there were other types of pages where it was just aggressively crawling sites and finding all these URLs and saying, hey, we can't index this URL because you've got it marked no index, and it would just explode out the number of URLs that you saw in Search Console. The problem that I have with this particular thing is Google says, it's not an issue. But their helpful content documentation says if you've got a lot of useless or duplicate URLs, you could get dinged. And this is a problem they created. And I have no confidence that they won't, act on this problem they created to, create additional problems for sites on down the road.
But not only that, we just recently showed that for a lot of smaller sites, it looks like your crawl budget is often around 3,000 visits. And when you have an infinite loop, 3,000 visits gets used up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's totally a problem, especially if the whole site isn't getting updated. Let's try a different one. So that was add to cart. Let's say sort. Let's try this. I'm guessing here. Sort equals price. Oh, here we go. See right there, sort price ascending. Yeah, price low to high. So it's sorted the category. So you have in ecom, you typically have a default category search. So when you click on a category, you get the default product sort, and businesses can invent what that algorithm is. The one I was always most fond of was bestsellers, because that usually helps that page one of the category do better. But here we have Google is interacting.
Wait, before you do that, look up there. This is page 12 in the URL. If you look at the URL at the top. So it's not even the first page.
But I'm okay with that because page 12 is going to have different content than page 1.
Yeah.
But you're right,
is that the one you want ranking?
Well, ideally your page 1 would have better SEO. But yeah, you're right. If the keyword was campfire mug, I'd want the page that said something about the campfire mug to appear. That would be the right category page to consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if we change this to 100, so that's PS equals 100 up there. Wonder if we can find that one too. So we go up here, say PS equals 100. Yeah, show 100. There you go. PS equals 100, indexed in Google. So Google is like going through all of these. So here we have a sort by relevance. Let's sort by product name. And so then we have this parameter, the FS equals. And so you see how we can use Google search on a website to find out, where Googlebot has gone off the rails. And you can actually use this to find leads for SEO work, because these have a problem that a lot of us know how to solve. You take those links that are A tags, you turn them into button tags, and you basically solve the issue. All right, so here we go. Let's see. That one I'm not seeing, so maybe that one. Oh, here it is. Oh, didn't work. Right site, but it's not in the URL.
It was a search for that specific product though, and it's an
It is.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking down at the very bottom. I highlight the link, and down at the bottom of the browser, it shows the URL. I know it's impossible to read on your screen, but it has it in the URL. It's just not honoring it in the store. Interesting. But the fact that it's indexed like that meant that Google got into it. And so, yeah, you have to be anymore ever since Google retired that URL parameter tool. Server weblogs are vital, because the thing about server weblogs is you can filter them down to the Googlebot visits, and you can see what Googlebot is getting into. You can see all the add to carts. You can see all the pages that gave Googlebot errors. You can see all the sort by price ascendings. You can see all the remove from carts. But you have to look in those logs to see it, or you have to do these kinds of diagnostic queries. And this is a big issue. Oh, and here's another thing that should have been in URL. I searched it wrong. But let's go back to the add to cart one. And here's how big this problem is. Terry, give me another product category.
Bracelets. Oh, how about monogrammed bracelets? Because there's a whole lot of letters in the alphabet.
Well, all right, we'll do that one next. Let's see. Eric is asking, Googlebot ignores button tags? Yes. And often the way these things work is they're doing an on-click framework call to do these operations anyway. You just move the on-click to the button tag. The fact that these are A tags in these e-commerce platforms is part of the problem. And I'm sure Google's philosophy is that, oh, there's an easy answer. Just have all websites change. It's not our issue. It's an all websites issue. All right, so let's see, not Instagram.
Now, Ted, I don't think Google has a track record of insisting the entire web should change to make their life easier. He said with heavy sarcasm.
Hey, selling and buying links. It was everywhere until Google came on the scene. So yeah, here's well, this was a necklace, but it ranked for bracelets with our search. So easy keyword to rank for when you're looking for add to cart pages. But they have the problem definitely.
Mhm.
You wanted the monogrammed. There's an Etsy add to cart. It's oh, they don't have a lot on that one. Let's check out the Etsy though. Yeah, it did have add to cart in the URL, but it didn't perform an action. That one is too detailed of a category. Bracelets work though. Let's try, let's see, let's try, what's a good one? Let's say Xbox headset. Oh, right up here, PC part picker. Interesting, buy from Amazon. So is that going to be a redirect? Nope. It add to cart. Oh. Wow, I got two of them in my cart. I wasn't paying attention now. Those are pricey. So you can basically search for these using any product name, any product category. You could use features of things. Um, yeah, you can very much target, people who have this issue within a specific space, and it's limited to all the products and categories you can think of. Somebody said try Shark Plush. All right. Shark Plush. Oh, that's one of those Amazon redirects. I really want to learn more about those. All right, let's go down here. That's pool tables. Let's try just Plush. What's interesting on this is how bad the search results are. It's not very good at staying on topic. This is an add to cart URL. It's just not for the keyword we searched. Oh, but it's an Amazon one. Interesting. Yeah, I want to understand these Amazon links because this looks like an affiliate dream come true if this works. All right, so yeah, Shark Plush did not work. I guess it's too specific. Uh, uh, Eric Schwartzman is asking, does this mean this category is less competitive? Maybe not. I think our diagnostic edition is messing up the relevancy. So yeah, this already looks better once I take away the diagnostic piece. So it's a little complicated doing those diagnostic queries.
Yes, I did a little fun when I was following up on one of yours in the little chat here that we have on Zoom. I dropped a URL for you to pop in, Ted. It's another. So they had a quick search, that on theirs, it's parameterized search, and they've got lots and lots of these. So these are all just parameterized searches for this one site that Google is aware of and has indexed.
Yeah, that's another dimension of infinite crawl is when Google can interact with the site search links.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find these too. You can see who's doing that. You just search, in URL for search equals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. So with that, the main thing that I'd want people to do is to be aware of this problem and remember the past. I know as SEOs we have very short memories. And because of the fact that we have very short memories, we tend to pardon Google on a lot of its past actions and statements because they go out of mind and are forgotten. But Google created this problem when they retired that tool. And so now it's on you to help your clients by looking for this issue because Google's probably not going to fix it. Or if they do, they're probably not going to fix it well. I doubt that they're going to put back the URL parameter tool because their egos won't let them.
When they
So
took it out, Ted, they made a claim. They said, we didn't use it, or we don't use it, which made me wonder how long had they not been using that tool that webmasters have been updating.
I don't believe that's true because it wasn't until 2 months later before I had people coming to me saying, hey, what's going on with my online store? So clearly it was still in use. It was still working until they retired it. And so, I just strongly recommend, especially online retailers, look at your weblogs. And if you're on Shopify, I'm sorry to say you don't have weblogs. At least do these diagnostic queries. Make sure your implementation on Shopify isn't indexing your faceted navigation and your add to carts and your site search or anything you don't want Googlebot getting into. There's a few ways to solve these issues. They almost always require web development. So one way, like I mentioned before, is, when the faceted navigation and the add to cart are A tags, you replace the A tag with a button tag instead. That's one way to do it. A better way to do it even is if the user agent says Googlebot, don't even draw the faceted navigation to the page. Don't even draw the add to cart buttons on the page. If it's Googlebot and they don't need to be in it, you don't need to draw it. All right, you can have everything else on the page, just don't let a Googlebot have the option. Because if you let Google decide, they often make the bad choice. So don't let Google decide. And that is the best way to handle it. You know, without a doubt, how it's going to work. And you can force Google to do a very efficient crawl of your website. So they won't start doing all the weird faceted sorting and filtering. Instead, they'll just crawl your main categories completely. And that's what you want. Whatever your default category search is, that's what you want Google crawling. And you want Google to crawl it as efficiently and as completely as possible. And so that should be the crawl path. And everything else, probably Google shouldn't even have a chance to play with. All right. Any final thoughts on this before we get to questions?
No.
All right, let's look at some questions here. All right. Let's see. Local Blitz says he's taken Lee's training 10 times and only missed one. Let's see. Travis says, would love your insights on choosing link targets and anchor text strategy. Thoughts on identifying link targets and how you approach anchor text selection ratios to maximize efforts. Um, you know, there's probably a million different ways to do this. I can tell you for smaller websites, it's much less of an issue. So this becomes more of a thing the larger the site becomes. Internally, I have no problem with exact match anchors. If you look at any major online retailer, their primary navigation is all exact match anchors on all pages. So it's not like Google's going to punish somebody for something everybody does. So I don't think on internal links you need to worry about it as much. However, there is some recent, I'd call them anecdotal findings, because it's not really a scientific study, uh, but that varying internal anchors can be beneficial. So there's a lot of people reporting that there is something to that. But it doesn't mean you need to fear exact match. It just might mean that you're leaving a signal or an opportunity on the table. Now, off page, this goes back to Penguin, and Penguin would look at those anchor text ratios and deem you as spam and put you into a penalty box. And that's what everybody's trying to avoid, is that external anchor text issue. You know, the issue with that is that there's an awful lot of businesses that just have the same external anchors, and that's just the natural fallout for how that business came to market. You know, in the early days of eBay, they were ranking for online auctions without even saying it on their homepage. And why? Is because the anchor text. And so the risk of varying anchor text is that you could potentially be off topic with it if you go too far with varying the anchor text. So you don't want it to necessarily be 100% the same, and you don't want to take it off topic. You know, again, it's a thing that also depends on scale. So scale ruins everything. You know, if you're only building manual links one at a time and you're building 5 a week, I don't think it'll ever be an issue. If you're using Black Hat software to do link building, it'll probably be a pretty big issue. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, the heart of this question, that I've seen a number of times is they're looking for typically an answer like, all right, you want to have between 7.2 and 8.1% exact match, and you want to have, and those sort of things. I don't think there's a magic formula in that. What I like to do is just use a variety of relevant anchors, without trying to get it down to, all right, well, this exact match, I should use a little bit more. This variation I went too heavy on, or something along those lines. Just do it. And if you're concerned about it, the quick and dirty that's been put out there for years is, go to a tool like Ahrefs and look at your competitors and say, what's the percentages that they're using of, naked URLs versus exact match versus, just your generic, click here, type of things, and mirror that. They didn't get in trouble, you won't get in trouble. For that. It's not necessarily the best way of doing it in the world, but just an intelligent selection of a variety of anchors has never led me astray. But if you're trying to do this for larger sites, I mean, if you think about it conceptually, if I tell you that this page is about stuffed sharks or plush sharks, if I've got 50 anchors that say that coming into the site, that tells Google a lot. Does it tell it more if it comes in 500 or 5,000 times? No, there's diminishing returns with that. So I think you get better results with a diversity of anchors that are relevant than just trying to hammer the crap out of something and wondering if you've gone too far. That's my 2 cents.
And I would think about the kinds of things that Google might actually look for in a broad spectrum kind of way. So we're thinking about anchor text. Well, what are the incarnations? So if you're selling a puppy coffee mug, that's literally the content you have is puppy coffee mug. So that's the most honest thing you could put in your anchor text. And I don't think Google wants you to lie about what your page is. So if you're honest, you shouldn't be punished for it. But Google would probably expect your website to have some links that are brand links, some links that are product links, some links that are category links, and some links that are a combination of the three.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those would be, my expectations of somebody getting natural linking is there should be a mix of those. So if you came in with only exact match product, that would be unusual because isn't your brand important? And so, I would at least start there. And if your scale is going to be bigger, then your strategy should probably be bigger too. But I'm not saying, go out and use these black hat tools. It's a very quick way to get into trouble. If you don't know what you're doing, you really shouldn't do it. So I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, I'm just going to add one more thing. The leak, the Google leak that came out, showed a number of different things where Google is very good at detecting outliers. So if I'm coming into the plush shark category and I just want to dominate, so I just fire up my tool and do 1 million plush shark links to a page, that's going to stand out like a sore thumb because nobody else is going to have anywhere near that many. And I think that's a lot of times where the people get in trouble is pushing something to an excess, to an extreme. So if you can make your page look like everybody else's, your backlink profile look like other people's, you stay sort of hidden in that crowd, you can get effective results without going crazy with it.
Yeah, because you know how many backlinks this Amazon product has? I bet you it's very close to 0. And so if you have more backlinks than Amazon with exact match anchors than Amazon, Target, IKEA, JC Penney, and eBay combined, you might have gone too far.
Yeah.
So just, keep in mind that, a lot of these big companies, their deep inner pages have zero backlinks. So you probably, when I was competing with Amazon, I found that I could often beat Amazon with as few as 25. And I've said that many times on this channel. As few as 25 because they have zero, and all I have to do is get over, whatever residual domain authority and page rank is being passed through to this page. And it's so deeply nested, it's a tiny amount that 25 nothing links, as Clint would like to remind us, 0 plus 0 equals 0. That's what I used, was those 25 zero value links. And that did the trick most of the time.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that, you don't need millions for all situations. You don't need thousands for all situations, because this is Amazon and this page has nothing. All right, let's look at another question. Let's see. Olga says, this is my favorite show, and Ted is the best at explaining how to waste crawl budget. Thank you. Yeah, I'm an expert at wasting crawl budget. I've done it many times. I've done it for years. If you need some crawl budget wasted, I'm your guy. But yeah, that's how we learned all this stuff, is we made these mistakes. So don't feel bad if your website has this problem now. I just lucked out and had this problem in, 2003. So that's the difference. Same mistakes, same
Yeah.
SEO.
Well, I also like to point out that I've made this mistake before, but the difference between Ted and I is that Ted made this mistake at scale. So that's the source of his prowess. Is he did it big, really.
Yeah. Now that's fun SEO when your mistakes cost $50,000 an hour until you get them fixed. Yeah, we call that working without a net. And it feels like you're walking a tightrope without a net.
Because you
Yeah.
are.
What's that?
Because you are.
Yep. But the cool thing about those experiences is they really teach you to have accelerated firefighting. They teach you some good core skills for those type of scale operations. Like I gave away my corner office so that I could have a cube in the engineering bullpen where the action is happening. You make different choices when scale is on the line.
Mhm.
Let's see. I'd like to test what Google considers excessive reciprocal links. I could get a bunch of PBN links to my test site, then link back to those PBN pages from the test site. Would that work? I'd say limit it to 10 tests and test with orders of magnitude. Because that way you can zero into what scale actually this applies to before you get more granular to what is the exact limit. So, you could probably skip 10 reciprocal links. I'd skip 10. Maybe start at 100,000, 10,000. go up. Just note that back in the day, 12.5 million was the floor of PageRank 8, the top of PageRank 7. So I probably wouldn't go above, 10 million. I think that would be too far. If you were taking it to PageRank 6, which I think is a lot more reasonable, then you're looking at about 100,000. So from 100 to 100,000 powers of 10. See which one, if any, has an issue. What do you think, Lee?
I think it's a great test, because Google says they don't like this sort of stuff, and yet we know that within limits it works well, but we don't know where that threshold is, or what are all the parameters that go into this is okay and that's not okay. So I love this idea as a test idea.
Yeah, I do too. It's one of those test ideas that, damn, I wish I would have thought of that 3 years ago when I had a team of testers.
Honestly, if you go and do just the 10,000 version, if you manage to find, where you can do 10,000 reciprocal links and your site goes up, and no ill befalls it, then, for most practical purposes, nobody else is going to go out and get, that many reciprocal links. So it tells us that we're safe operating in the places where most SEOs would operate with that.
Yep. And if you do this test and you want to come on the show and share your findings, we'd all be happy to have you. So whatever the outcome might be, even if it is a total failure, we'd like to hear what you tried and what you learned and what happened. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So John asks, let's see, I have a new client that's been around a while with OK authority. Would it be best to point a press release to a money page, in this case a blog post, or the home page? Well, there's a couple philosophies here. So most of the press release companies, they want to target the homepage first. And that's kind of a brand situation. That's the tree trunk. So in theory, everything you deliver to the trunk helps everything downstream. But in SEO, I often find the need is on a page-by-page basis. So I need to solve a deficit for this particular page, and I have budget for this particular page, and so I need it to be for this particular page. And so usually I'm going to an inner page to solve a numeric deficit in referring domains. And I try to compete on referring domains first and foremost because it's the smallest number, it's the safest number, it's the cheapest number, it's the fastest number. So if it's all those things, why wouldn't you start with it? And I found that most of the time it ends with referring domains, and I never even need to compete on the level of backlinks. So definitely start off-page SEO with referring domains and see how it goes. You can always escalate from there. What do you think, Lee?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of factors that weigh in the decision. The 25 referring domains thing that you've talked about for years, I found a lot of times when I look at the URLs to the pages that I'm competing against, I don't need 5. I don't need a whole press release. That's too much firepower. Sometimes I just need like 12 or 15 or 31. And, if you can do that without having the expense, of a press release, because we're assuming, normal retail value of a press release, then I would do that. But I have no qualms taking a press release and firing it at an internal page that I need, to rank if it's an important category page or product page or service page, something along those lines. It's there. So that's kind of where I'm thinking of it. Also, when we're starting off with a new site, we certainly want to do a branded press release to get started. But if your brand is already established, for example, you're in local and you've already got all of your citations and things like that. If you search for your brand and you've got, page after page after page of links pointing back to you, then I would skip the branded press release and just go directly to targeting the pages that need, the power. So there's a couple of different factors there that impact whether I would start with a branded one or whether I'd use a press release at all.
Yep. Let's see. Can we talk about link disavows a bit? Is it ever a good idea? I've only used them on a couple of occasions. Both of those occasions, it was a toxic domain being pointed at my server. And the impact of that toxic domain hurt the rankings of the stores on that server. And in those cases, we were suffering large revenue losses because of the loss of rankings. And so we had to act whether we believe things or not. So $50,000 an hour until you get it fixed. And so in those cases, I would disavow the toxic domain. I wouldn't disavow a URL. I disavowed the entire domain. And oftentimes we would see recovery from that within a few days. Now, can I say with certainty that it was the disavow that fixed it? Because odds are we tried a bunch of different things all at the same time. No, I can't prove it. But both times I did it, both times the page recovered. I can't conclusively say that was the fix. I've never disavowed on a URL by URL basis. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I have two things that I've seen that have shaped my thinking on this. One, I've talked to some people that specialize in the disavow. When I say specialize in it, they can identify and show you the toxic domain. And we're talking snipers here, not people that gather up and say, oh, these are all forum profile links and those are crap, so we're just going to disavow those as as a class action sort of approach to SEO. Usually what they've shared is that most people screw up the disavow by disavowing not great links, but they're not hurting you, and so basically you're getting rid of some of your backlink profile. Last year in February, I went to PubCon. Honey and I went to PubCon, and I heard Gary Isles speak, and he mocked the disavow tool, calling it the comfort tool for SEOs. And he shared an anecdote. He said, about a month before, he was talking at a conference, and he was talking to a small agency owner, and the small agency owner said, of course, when we get a new client, the first thing we do is we grab all the bad links and we disavow them. And I looked at him and I said, why? It's like, so even Google is telling you, this is to be used sparingly. It's not if it looks like a duck, or I think it's not quite the quality that I want. And I've heard a number of different SEOs say the first thing they do when they get a client who has a disavow file is they delete the disavow file and watch the rankings shoot up, because that's the recovery of the link juice that you lost by disavowing, links that were working for you that you just didn't like the looks of. So I would be very, very cautious about using the disavow. If you could spot, a very toxic situation, then yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to use it, but it's not really a tool in the arsenal.
All right, let's see. Are you bullish on SEO as a service over the long term, e.g. the next 10 years? There are two aspects to that question I see. One is, what's the future with AI? The other one is, does long-term SEO pay off? And when I was in online retail, I had the luxury of having, 5-year plan for SEO. But when you're an SEO consultant or an SEO agency and you're taking on 3 and 6 month clients, you often don't get the luxury of thinking where you want the SEO to be 5 years from now. And so I could do remarkable things over that span of time. And that's, kind of my claim to fame was, getting large parts of page 1 and page 2 for tens of thousands of keywords. But it took 17 years to do it, to learn how to do it and to pull it off. There's no 3-month contract for that kind of SEO. So in many respects, some of the most amazing SEO things you've never even heard of are only being done in-house over, incomprehensible lengths of time for SEO. Now, does that answer your question? No. I think the other side is, SEO is at risk because of AI. That's the thing. Now, will it ruin it all told? No, but it could devalue it. I mean, SEO AI tools are coming out. A lot of them work pretty well, and they're cheaper and cheaper. And so that could impact the value of services, the value of products. So yeah, should we be a little concerned? Yeah, we should keep an eye on it. Should we think about how to pivot? Yeah, you should probably, be thinking about how you can change with the times. Because here's the thing, we might not always need SEO. Like search engines could fundamentally change. Like Search GPT is coming out, and
Mhm.
That looks pretty remarkable so far. So the industry could change and by a lot, but it doesn't mean there won't be a marketing problem. There will still be businesses with products and services that need to get in front of people. And we have a skill set for helping make those connections, whether or not it's search results or getting included better in AI prompt results or, whatever, social media marketing. There's always a very, very similar problem to solve. And so I don't think the problem is going away. I think that the methods might change. What do you think, Lee?
Well, you know that I'm much more pessimistic about this than you are. Ted's the optimistic version. I'm the pessimistic version. In my view, AI and other automation is going to replace about 90% of what SEOs do right now, because you already have tools that are getting better at writing content. They'll get better at SEOing the content. You can see AI tools coming down the road that could potentially analyze your backlink profile and make changes. Things that could come and analyze technical aspects of your site and its configuration and make changes. And so for me, looking at those sort of pieces where now the stuff that is done manually or with a team by SEOs can be replaced by automation, it means that you're in a drive where, maybe in 2-3 years, 2 guys in Bangladesh using, software can offer $29 a month packages that replace the $2,000-$3,000 packages that you're doing right now. So if you don't have a way to do something that the tools themselves can't do, if you're, in that top 5% of SEOs, you'll be fine. You'll pivot, you'll, do all those sort of things. But if you're in the middle, you're in danger, in my view, because, the automation and the AI changes are coming. And if you don't have something else to fall back on, you're in a price war with a machine. You will lose that game. So long term, I'm not bullish on SEOs as an industry, but I am bullish on SEO as a practice.
There you go. All right, let's see. How would you handle a prospect who wants to share a list of keywords to rank in Google? I think that's actually a good thing. I think we should be actually doing intentional SEO. So if they're saying, I want this page to rank for this keyword, that's great. I would want that information from the client. Now, the next thing you do with that information is you don't make immediate promises on it. You go and look at the competition. How much cost is it going to be? How much time is it going to take? How many backlinks you need to get? And you put all those things out and you do, a cocktail napkin calculation next to each keyword about what it's going to cost and how long it's going to take. And then you go and pick some better targets that are better targeting their customers. All right. And they tend to be longer tail keywords, smaller volumes, but more on point for getting the product sold. And you show what those will cost to win. And you say, which one do you want me to start on? So if they want you to take the 5-year plan on the hardest keywords, great, you got 5 years of employment. But if they want the fastest path to conversions, great, then it's a reasonable short-term plan. Let them choose how much money they want to give you. What do you think, Lee?
I like that, but there's one piece that I'm gonna show because it's of a recent situation. I'm looking at your screen here with the shark stuffed toy. So if you're going to sell plush sharks and the client comes to you and they say, I want to rank #1 for the term shark. Well, that's just dumb. So you have to have some boundaries on that, because if you go and look at the #1 for shark, it has nothing to do with plush toys or anything else. You're not going to rank for that. Or if you do, people are going to be a little disappointed.
But all online retailers do that already.
Yeah.
When they have a new arrivals category, new arrivals, bestsellers, discontinued, gifts.
Candlelights. Are we going to do the
you'll see categories that are just labeled for men, for women. So this, to a certain extent, these problems exist, and you're absolutely right to be concerned about targeting, because if the targeting is wrong, the SEO is wrong by extension. So all SEO should start with a very close look at the targeting.
Yeah, I had a philosophical, this ties into this a little bit. I had a philosophical conversation with somebody the other day that was talking about, they were doing the SEO for a particular client, but the client's lead site, et cetera, wasn't converting very well, which is a CRO sort of problem. And I said, well, yes, you are technically correct. They hired you for SEO. Really what they want is business. So if you bring in, a million leads and none of them convert because, either they're horrible at sales or because their click to call button doesn't work on their website, or whatever the reason is, they're going to hold you responsible, for that. So you as SEOs need to make sure that you guide them towards, your clients towards good business decisions, not just, vanity keywords and things like that. But at the end of the day, if the client says, hey, I want to rank for shark, you put a budget in front of them and go for it.
Yep. Let's see. Last question here. For a press release for the target keyword, the highest number of referring domains and ranking results are 89 and then 38. So would 200 be too much or okay? So here's how I look at referring domains. All right. So I'm going to treat this like astronomy. Okay. We need a standard candle for comparison. All right. We need a way to kind of apples to apples these things. And so when I look at referring domains, it is very common that the numbers for page 1 will be like 89, 2, 0, 5, 13, 24, 116. And in my mind, that's all a tie. That's even across the board. And you're like, how is that a tie? Well, we need a standard candle. So my standard candle is the equivalent value of a press release, because a press release will often give you about 500 referring domains, and all of those values are closer to 0 than they are to 1. And so my strategy for a keyword that looks like that would be one press release, one and done. That's the whole off-page SEO strategy when I do that audit. Now, sometimes you need, 600, sometimes you need 1,200, and then you're looking at more press releases. But by and large, most of the keywords I look at are one and done situations. What about you, Lee?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the one difference is, I mean, we built a tool, a simple link tool to handle a situation like this, where if you had, like you described, if I was going to sort that, the number one, the most on page 1 at 100, and then 30, and then 13, 5, 2, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. I'm looking at that and saying I can compete very well with 30 links. So I'd fire up my tool and go get 30 links, like that. But the question is, for your particular link building, do you have a method that'll get you 30 or 40 links? And what's the cost, both in terms of time, money, resources? Is it just faster to sort of write the check, get the press release, and be done with it? Again, a business decision. So it depends on sort of what tools you have available to you, to solve the thing. Do you have something where you can quickly solve the 30? Then do it. If you don't, then do the press release and just, overwhelm the 100 and, and be done with it.
Let's see. All right. One last question came in. What things are you looking to add or tweak in Quora in the future to address the changing world of SEO? Well, obviously, everybody's looking at different ways to leverage AI, and that includes me. And I think probably the first thing I would want to work into Quora 8 is a massive revamp to entities. Because I think that the technology is to a point where there are some things we can do to get amazing entity lists out of AI and verify them with measurable qualities we see in search to find out if those entities are important to Google for a specific keyword. And so in that realm, that's probably one of the big features I would try to work on first, is a massive overhaul on entities. What would you want to see, Lee?
I'm going to go at this the other direction. You've got thousands of available factors in there, and most SEOs that I see that you utilize Quora, there's very few that take full advantage or anywhere close to full advantage of what's there right now. So the question of, what else can we add? I'm like, well, you've got more than you're utilizing now. Why are you looking for, some other, enhancement to it? I'm not sure. I mean, AI can certainly help us, and it will continue to evolve to help us more going forward, but I'm not sure how much SEO fundamentally changes as a result of that. You still have the keywords and entities on a page. You still have, if I put in stuff, shark toy, it should be stuffed shark toys coming up there. And they know, because there's images of stuffed sharks, and there's stuffed sharks in the title and meta description and the H tags, and all the things that we do now, and additional things in there. So I'm not looking for additional features from that, other than if there's, obviously ways of enhancing the roadmap or identifying, clusters of things that, would speed along the implementation of what Quora recommends. Because ultimately, Quora is a ruler. It's a measurement tool. So, changing it into an implementation tool changes kind of the nature of the software to a large degree.
Yeah, and I think the world is changing with respect to tools. So future incarnations would probably, be better delivered as services that people could leverage from different technologies of their choosing. So, people would probably want Cora broken up into APIs that they could use in their own tool creation, things of that nature. So,
Mhm.
if I had to envision, not just an update, but an evolution of technology, it would be to probably make atomic services for the things that Cora does, or at least the things that Cora does well. And then that way people could make their own automation, their own processes. And it would probably look a lot more like an API offering than a software offering. But who knows? There might be a workspace tool that can access the APIs in a software familiar way for people who still want the software. So in terms of architecture change, the main thing that's in the way of that is that cloud rendering is not a thing yet. And that's one of the big things I've been trying to engineer for the past year. I've been struggling to reverse engineer every aspect of Googlebot I can. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of amazing things about Googlebot and how important it is to see through Googlebot's eyes. But the goal is to create that cloud rendering service that can do that rendering. That is the main roadblock to having atomic Cora web services, is that ability to accurately see the world as Google does. Because if you get that wrong, it's all wrong by extension. And that's what most tools on the market are doing, is they're too busy drinking their own Kool-Aid and not understanding how Google saw the page. So yeah, that would be the other thing. I'd want to get a solution to cloud rendering that uses what I've learned from reverse engineering Googlebot. All right. With that, we will see you next week. Thank you, everyone. Great questions.